the signal from space that lasted 72 seconds, then vanished forever. In 1977, a radio telescope detected a signal so powerful it could only come from an intelligent source. Scientists have searched for 47 years. They never found it again. But here is what nobody talks about. The real mystery is not whether aliens sent that signal. The real mystery is why a volunteer astronomer working the night shift, a man who was never supposed to be there that evening, became the only human being to ever witness it. And what he scribbled in the margin of that printout has haunted researchers ever since. 3 red letters. 1 word. Wow. You are about to learn something that changes how you think about communication itself. Not just communication with extraterrestrial intelligence, but communication in your business, your marketing, your entire approach to getting heard in a world drowning in noise. Because the wow signal teaches us 3 things. First, why the most powerful messages are the ones that cannot be replicated. Second, the terrifying math behind why most signals, including yours, disappear into the void. And third, what a 72-second transmission from deep space reveals about the future of how small businesses will communicate in 2024 and beyond. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you will understand why the same technology that helps scientists search for alien signals is now available to any entrepreneur with a laptop and $50. And that is not an exaggeration. It is August 15th, 1977. The Big Ear radio telescope sits in a field in Delaware, Ohio. It is not a glamorous machine. It looks like a football field made of metal mesh, rusting slightly in the summer humidity. Jerry Amon is not supposed to be working tonight. He is a volunteer, a professor at Franklin University who donates his time to the SETI project, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. But another researcher called in sick, and Jerry agreed to cover the shift. At 11:16 p.m. Eastern Time, the telescope's computer begins recording a signal. The printout shows a series of numbers and letters, each one representing the intensity of the radio waves hitting the antenna. For context, a typical background signal registers as a 1 or 2. An unusually strong signal might hit 5. This signal starts at 6, then jumps to E, then Q, then U. In the alphanumeric code the computer uses, U represents an intensity of 30 times stronger than background noise. The signal continues, 5, then 4, then 3, then 2, a perfect bell curve. Exactly what you would expect from a focused transmission sweeping past a fixed antenna as Earth rotates. 72 seconds. That is how long the signal lasts. The exact duration the Big Ear takes to scan one point in space. 3 days later, Jerry Amon reviews the printout. He circles the sequence 6EQ-J5 and writes a single word in red ink. Wow. He has no idea he just documented the most famous unexplained signal in scientific history. And here is what haunts researchers to this day. Jerry tried to find that signal again, for months, for years. The Big Ear pointed at that same region of space over 100 times. Nothing. Complete silence. The signal came from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius, roughly 120 light-years away. It arrived on the hydrogen frequency, 1420 megahertz, the exact wavelength scientists had long theorized would be used by an intelligent civilization trying to communicate across the galaxy. Everything about it screamed intentional transmission. And then, it vanished. Forever. Now you might be wondering what this has to do with running a business. I promise we are getting there. But first, you need to understand the math that makes the wow signal so disturbing. The Big Ear telescope operated for 36 years. It scanned the sky continuously, listening for signals from over 20,000 hours of observation time. In all that time, across millions of data points, only one signal ever matched the criteria for potential extraterrestrial origin. One signal, 72 seconds, never repeated. Scientists call this the signal-to-noise problem. Space is filled with electromagnetic radiation. Radio waves from stars, pulsars, quasars, human technology, cosmic background noise. Finding a meaningful signal in that ocean of noise is like trying to hear someone whisper your name at a stadium concert. And this is where your business enters the picture. Right now, the average person is exposed to between 6,000 and 10,000 advertisements per day. Every day. That number has increased 600% since the 1970s, when Jerry Emmons circled those letters on his printout. Your marketing message, your email, your social post, your video, your pitch is competing against 9,999 other signals every single day. The cosmic noise ratio for business communication is worse than space. Here is the math that should terrify you. Email open rates average 21%. Of those who open, maybe 2% click. Of those who click, maybe 3% convert. You do the multiplication, and your carefully crafted message has a 0.01% chance of actually reaching someone who takes action. 1 in 10,000. Your marketing is basically the wow signal, except instead of lasting 72 seconds, it lasts about 1.7 seconds in someone's Instagram feed before they scroll past. So the question becomes, how do you make your signal so powerful, so distinct, so perfectly tuned to the right frequency that it cuts through 10,000 other messages and actually gets heard? The answer is not what you think. For 47 years, scientists assumed the wow signal failed to repeat because whoever sent it moved on, transmitted once, then aimed their antenna somewhere else, or their civilization collapsed, or it was a natural phenomenon we do not yet understand. But in astronomer Alberto Caballero proposed a different theory. He analyzed Gaia spacecraft data and found a sun-like star in the exact region the wow signal originated. A star called 2MASS, 2819822640123. It sits 1,800 light-years away, has nearly identical temperature and luminosity to our sun, and could theoretically host habitable planets. Caballero's theory? The signal was not random. It was targeted. Whoever sent it knew exactly where they were aiming. This is the insight that changes everything for your business. The most powerful signals are not louder. They are more precisely aimed. When you try to speak to everyone, you speak to no one. When you try to broadcast on every frequency, you become noise. The wow signal worked because it arrived on exactly the right frequency. The hydrogen line at 1420 megahertz, the one wavelength scientists agreed intelligent civilizations would use. Your business needs a hydrogen line, a specific frequency that your specific audience is already listening to. And this is where artificial intelligence stops being science fiction and starts being your competitive advantage. Because the same pattern recognition technology that helps astronomers scan millions of data points for meaningful signals is now accessible to any small business owner. I will give you one example. If you're creating videos, podcasts, or any content that requires voice work, and you want to reach audiences in different languages or simply save thousands on voice talent, there are AI voice tools that sound indistinguishable from human speakers. One I've been experimenting with is at https://try.11labs 2pu1 and 009 2jl1. It lets you clone voices, generate narration in 29 languages, and produce studio-quality audio from text. For a small business, that is the difference between reaching one market and reaching 30. If stories like this fascinate you, if you want more breakdowns of how overlooked ideas translate into business advantages, subscribe. I upload one of these every single week. So what can you actually do with this today? Not next month, not when you have more budget. Today. First, identify your hydrogen frequency. Write down the one platform where your ideal customer spends the most time when they are actively looking for solutions. Not where they scroll mindlessly, where they search with intent. For B2B, that is usually LinkedIn or YouTube. For local services, that is Google Maps and Yelp. For creative work, that is Instagram or TikTok. Pick one. Second, study the signal patterns. Spend 30 minutes analyzing the top 10 posts or videos in your niche from the past 30 days. What headlines consistently perform? What length? What format? What hook in the first 3 seconds? You are reverse engineering what that audience's antenna is tuned to receive. Third, transmit with uncomfortable specificity. The wow signal worked because it was not trying to be everything. It was narrow band, focused, unmistakable. Your message should name a specific problem, a specific audience, and a specific outcome. Not marketing help for businesses, but email sequences that convert for wedding photographers who are booking fewer than 10 clients per year. That precision feels limiting. It is actually liberating. Because when you broadcast on the exact frequency your audience is listening to, you do not need 10,000 impressions. You need 100 of the right ones. Here is the part most marketing advice completely ignores. The wow signal's real power was not its strength. It was its silence. Think about it. The reason scientists noticed that signal was because of the contrast. 72 seconds of intensity surrounded by hours of nothing. If the big ear had been receiving strong signals constantly, the wow would have been meaningless, just more noise. The biggest mistake small business owners make is communicating constantly at medium intensity, posting every day but saying nothing memorable, sending emails every week but never delivering genuine value.